The North Gauteng High Court heard more details about Senzo Meyiwa's final moments after being shot at close range. Meyiwa was shot and killed in 2014 while at Kelly Khumalo's parental home in Vosloorus, east of Johannesburg. 5 men are currently on trial for his murder. Chriselda Lewis, our SABC News senior reporter, joins us now. Chriselda, good evening. Important and explosive revelations shared with the court today by Lieutenant Colonel Chris Mangena. Walk us through them.
Well, Imana, the High Court in Pretoria has heard that the bullet recovered from the Senzo Meyiwa murder crime scene was fired from the gun confiscated from accused number 3, Mthobisi Mncube. So ballistics expert Lieutenant Colonel Christian Mangena also testified that the ammunition seized from Mncube in 2015 is the same kind recovered from the scene, and that there were 2 shots that were fired inside the house. You would know, of course, that Mncube and 4 other men are currently on trial for Meyiwa's 2014 murder. In this shocking revelation, he says that the bullet that killed Meyiwa was, of course, fired from that gun confiscated from Mncube. This is, of course, as I indicated, from Colonel Christian Mangena, after he had conducted investigations at the crime scene as well as on the gun. Let's take a listen.
So in simple terms, what does this paragraph mean, 9.1?
Paragraph 9.1 means that the bullet that was recovered from the firearm, from the crime scene, was fired from this firearm.
Iman, also the ammunition, as I earlier indicated, that was seized from Mncube in 2015 when he was arrested, the same kind was found at the scene. This is what Mangena also told the court.
I examined the fired bullets mentioned in 3.1 and 8.2. Compare the individual and class characteristic marking transferred to them by firearm components during the firing process using a comparison microscope, and found there is sufficient class and individual characteristic markings present on both exhibit and test bullets mentioned in paragraph 3.1 and 8.2, which indicate that the bullet mentioned in 3.1 was fired in the pistol mentioned in 7.1.
Well, you'd also recall that there'd been a contradictory testimony from witnesses who were inside the house who previously took the stand about the number of shots that were fired on that evening. Mangena says there were just 2 shots that were fired on that night. Let's take a listen.
After examination of the crime scene, the clothing of the deceased and the wound sustained, I could determine that at least 2 shots were fired at the house or at the crime scene. 1 shot was fired directly to the floor in an angle of approximately 90 degrees. My lord, I looked at the shape of the bullet mark or bullet damage on the tile. It's almost a circular shape. Now what does that tells me is, if you take a firearm, you fire it at the 90 degrees, your bullet will hit the floor and will hit it on the center part.
There was no 3rd bullet discharged, according to your investigation.
My lord, on examination of the crime scene, I only found 2 shots fired.
So Mangena also telling the court that it was the 2nd bullet that had hit Meyiwa. Let's listen to that description of how it took place.
The other shot was fired in the direction of the door at a slightly downward angle. Bullet damage marked A1 on the door had characteristics of an unstable bullet. I'm of the opinion that, I'd say this is the bullet that perforated the body of the deceased. Now, if you take the deceased, place him on the crime scene, facing inside with a door behind him, this shows the bullet did not penetrate at an angle of approximately 19, but at an angle which indicates that when the shot was fired, the door was almost half open. It was not closed, it was half open. Right. If it hits the door at 90 degrees, it will go through the door.
Now, the fact that Mangena says there were 2 shots that were fired inside the house, this corroborates, Iman, the testimony of one of the occupants that was inside the house, Kelly Khumalo. You'd recall that she previously told the court that she heard 2 gunshots go off. So Mangela also gave details about the position in which Meyiwa was standing when he was shot.
The most probable position of the deceased during the infliction of the wounds was initially standing upright in the kitchen area behind the half-closed door, with his back towards the door, but not in contact with it. Bullet perforated the body of him and hit the door behind him. The bullet trajectory is slightly downwards. The shooter was most probably in front of the deceased, and the firearm was in contact with the deceased's chest. The possibility of altercation or struggle between the deceased and the shooter cannot be ruled out.
So really interesting revelations today, Chriselda, as the state solidifies its case against the accused. We understand that Mangena is going to continue with his evidence in chief.
Well, that's right, Imani's evidence in chief continues tomorrow. But of course, these are startling revelations that have been made inside this court, Iman, because everyone wanted to understand, because you saw the build up to what had been seized from Mthobisi Ncube, was accused number 3, the firearm that had been seized, the ammunition that was seized. So we're hearing from this ballistics expert now that basically the ammunition that was seized from Ncube in 2015 is the same kind, very important to say, the same kind of ammunition that was found at the crime scene, and basically says that the bullet that killed Meyiwa was fired from this gun that was seized from Mthobisi Ncube.
A big day in court today, and chilling details on Senzo Meyiwa's final moments as well. Chriselda Lewis, thank you very much for the update. Our SABC News senior reporter.